I know I'm probably one of the craziest ones when I say this, but there really aren't many days out in the lawn left for this season, and I couldn't be more excited about it. Oh, I need a break. The lawn itself is really starting to take a break as well. Overnight lows dipping down into a cool 50-something degrees. Daytime highs have only been in the 70s. The brakes on that Bermuda grass keep getting pushed harder and harder and harder. This was one of the first weeks all season long where I've only mowed one time. That was even with a little bit of rainfall, but with shorter and shorter and shorter daylight hours and so much cooler temperatures, the Bermuda grass is really starting to change, really starting to lose a little bit of color as well, along with slowing down its growth rate. And when all these things start piling up, you know that it's just about time for one very important thing in the fall. We're going to talk about that. Thank you so much for being here and joining me in the conversation. If you like this video and it helps you at all, please give me a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. All right, we've talked about all the other things you need to be doing in the fall to make sure you're putting your Bermuda grass to bed for the wintertime in the right shape. We've talked about fertilizing. You should already have that down. Not a big old heavy dose of fertilizer, but some, okay? Don't slack off on your regular cultural practices either. It's because it's starting to slow down in growth and things are changing with the season. Make sure you're keeping up with your watering and your mowing. All those things will promote a healthy turf going into the off season and a much better start to next spring. But there's one other thing that none of us like dealing with, doesn't matter what time of year it is, and that is weeds. And it is time to get down our fall application of a pre-emergent herbicide. You got two kinds of herbicides, pre-emergent and post-emergent. A post-emergent herbicide is a weed killer. That's when you already see the weeds and you want to kill them. A pre-emergent herbicide is a preventer. That stops those weeds from coming up in the first place. And if you're like me with a Bermuda grass lawn in the south or up in the transition zone, you want to get a couple rounds of a pre-emergent down every season. And we're going to tell you when I do that. This time in the fall, I'm looking at a mid-September application, sometime around the astronomical start to fall, which is the third week of September. That's when I try to time out my September fall application of pre-emergent. That app is going to control the cool season weeds throughout the latter part of fall into the winter, and really it's going to keep that Poa annua from germinating this time of year and then rearing its ugly head towards the start of next year into next spring. Okay, even though the bag for the one that I like to use is called Spectracide Weed Stop for Lawns Plus Crabgrass Preventer, that doesn't mean that it only prevents crabgrass. It prevents a whole lot of weeds, but of course the one people are most worried about is that crabgrass. But if you put it down this time of year, it's going to prevent those cool season weeds, mainly that Poa annua. So as you head through the winter and then towards next spring, you don't start seeing that nasty annual bluegrass popping up in your beautiful brown dormant lawn. So now is the time to start thinking about your fall application. Depending on your rate, whether you go really heavy or really light, those typically last 3, 4, 5 months. So what I will do is I will plan my second application. I know we're talking a lot about weed prevention in this video, but there's another kind of prevention I want to hit on. If you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know that I'm not the best at PPE. I do an okay job at protecting my eyes, but this equipment can be really loud and I don't really protect my ears. Something about these just cheap, nasty earplugs, they don't do it for me. But the older I've gotten, I've realized I gotta change my ways and protect these two things. So now I'm doing it with Status Audio's between 3 ANC wireless earbuds. The active noise canceling on these things is just phenomenal. Way better than you're going to find from any cheap old nasty earplug. First time I put these on, it felt like I was 16 years old again back in my 1995 Ford Bronco. The bass was just bumping. These have a triple driver system. So there's a driver for mids, a driver for bass, and a driver for the treble. Super long battery life as well. You can get up to 8 hours worth of listening time with the ANC on, up to 12 hours with it off, 36 hours worth of charge in the case, so up to 48 hours worth of total listening. I mean, the sound is just phenomenal. It beats listening to any lawnmower, trimmer, or blower. Hey, there's an app for it too, super simple to use. Tells you which mode you're in, whether you're listening to it with the ANC on or in transparency mode or ambient sound mode. And it also tells you how much juice is left in each one of your earbuds. Folks, I was never a fan of listening to music in the lawn, but now you better believe when I'm out there mowing, trimming and edging, or blowing, I am listening to some good tunes, all while protecting my ears. Hey, click down below in the description, 10% off, and you'll be enjoying them just like me for right after New Year's. So the one in September gets me from September through October, November, and December, and then I'll put one down right at the beginning of January to start the new year. That app will still continue to prevent cool season weeds and anything that might pop up through the coldest of winter time if temperatures start to get a little bit mild. That New Year's app, that start of January app, is going to get me through January, February, and most of March, and then that is the time that we will time out our spring application right around spring break, the 3rd or 4th week of March, and that is the one that is going to prevent those warm season weeds that start popping up as the temperatures start warming up through the spring, and especially into the early part of summer. That's the one that's going to prevent the crabgrass. And you really need to make sure with that one that you put it down at the right time. Look, the one in September and the one at the start of January, those are going to limp you along. But the one as you get into the spring, you don't want to wait too late on that and that crabgrass germinate and pop up when you thought, what's going on? I've already got my pre-emergent down. And really, the best thing to remember with your spring application is your areas next to your concrete sidewalks, driveways, patios. Those are going to warm up faster. Sunlight starts heating those up. The soil nearby warms up faster, and that's where you'll typically see the crabgrass first. So always err just a little bit on the earlier side for that spring application. But for now, for fall, now is the time. Run out and get your bag of pre-emergent. Again, I like to use Spectricide's Weed Stop for Lawns plus crabgrass preventer. Always have had great results. And if it ain't broke, I ain't gonna fix it. We'll go ahead and buy 2 bags now. One for the fall app, one for the one just right after the first of the new year. And then as spring rolls around next year, we'll go back to the store and get us one for that spring application. All right, folks, if you're a Bermuda grass lawn owner and you're in the transition zone or in the South, I promise you, you follow this timeline for pre-emergent weed control and you will find yourself predominantly weed-free. Then by the time you get into the meat of your summer, everything is so nice and thick from proper watering, mowing, and fertilizing, the weeds won't stand a chance anyway. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Budget Lawns. A little pre-emergent weed prevention for you. Get it down now. Again, if you found this video helpful, entertaining whatsoever, please give me a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate your support very much, and we'll see you next time.